Did you know some habits can hold you back after 50? I didn't, until I stopped doing these 3 things. For years, I felt stuck, like I was just going through the motions. I was so busy, but I wasn't really living. Sound familiar? Well, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be this way. I decided to make some changes, and honey, let me tell you, it's been like a whole new lease on life. Stay tuned, because I'm about to share the 3 things I stopped doing that helped me reclaim my time in my life after 50. The first thing I had to tackle? Social media. It had become an integral part of my daily routine, almost like a reflex. Wake up, check notifications, lunch break, scroll through feeds. Before bed, one last look. It was a cycle that seemed harmless at first, but gradually took over my life. Oh, social media. It's supposed to connect us, right? We share moments, stay updated with friends and family, and even discover new interests. But somewhere along the way, it started to feel more like a trap than a tool. But let me tell you, it was disconnecting me from my own life. I was so engrossed in other people's lives that I forgot to live my own. The constant barrage of updates, likes, and comments was overwhelming. I'd find myself mindlessly scrolling, comparing myself to everyone else's highlight reel. It was like being on a never-ending treadmill, always running but never getting anywhere. The more I scrolled, the more I felt inadequate. You know what I mean, right? That feeling of never being enough, of always falling short. It's exhausting and demoralizing. Those perfectly filtered photos, the announcements about amazing vacations and promotions. It was exhausting. It felt like everyone else was living their best life while I was stuck in a rut. And the worst part? It was all smoke and mirrors. Most of it wasn't even real. People only show the best parts of their lives, the highlights, not the struggles and the mundane moments. I was wasting precious time on an illusion, on people trying to present a perfect version of themselves. Time that I could have spent on things that truly mattered to me. One day, I was scrolling through vacation photos, feeling envious of someone's trip to Italy. I was so absorbed in their experience that I didn't notice the beautiful sunset happening right outside my window. I caught my reflection in the screen and thought, "Married, what are you doing?" It was a wake-up call. I realized I was living vicariously through others instead of creating my own memories. You're missing out on your own life. The moments that truly matter were slipping away while I was glued to my screen. I was present physically, but absent mentally. That's when I knew I had to make a change. I decided to take control of my digital life before it took control of me. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I decided to limit my social media time and be more intentional about who I followed. I set screen time limits and unfollowed accounts that didn't add value to my life. I started following people who inspired me, who were doing things I admired. And you know what? It was like a breath of fresh air. My feed transformed from a source of stress to a source of inspiration. It made a world of difference. I felt lighter, happier, and more in control of my life. I was no longer a passive consumer, but an active participant. My feed became a source of positivity and motivation, not comparison and envy. I started to see social media as a tool for growth rather than a trap. And that, my friends, is how I freed myself from the scroll. Next up, email. The never-ending stream of messages that seem to multiply every time you blink. Oh, email, the bane of my existence. It's like a digital hydra. For every email you respond to, 2 more take its place. I used to feel this pressure to stay on top of my inbox. Like every message required an immediate response. The anxiety was real, and it felt like I was always playing catch-up. I'd wake up and immediately check my email, even before getting out of bed. It was the first thing I did every morning, setting a stressful tone for the day. I'd spend my lunch break answering messages, barely tasting my food because I was so focused on clearing my inbox. It was like I was chained to my email, and even find myself scrolling through my inbox late at night, the glow of the screen the last thing I saw before sleep. It was exhausting. It was consuming my life. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of emails, unable to come up for air. I remember one time I was at a concert trying to enjoy the music, but all I could think about were the emails piling up in my inbox. The music was loud, but the noise in my head was even louder. Can you believe that? I was physically present but mentally absent, lost in a digital world of unread messages. I was letting those little digital messages steal my joy, even in the middle of a concert. It was a wake-up call. That's when I realized I needed to set some boundaries. I had to reclaim my time and my peace of mind. I decided to check my email only twice a day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. And you know what? The world didn't end. In fact, it was liberating. In fact, I was more productive because I wasn't constantly interrupting my workflow to respond to every little message. I could focus on what truly mattered, and my stress levels dropped significantly. I started enjoying my hobbies again, spending quality time with family and friends, and living in the moment. It was a game changer. Setting boundaries with my email gave me back control over my life. I felt more relaxed, more present, and more in tune with myself. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by your inbox, try setting some boundaries. You might just find that the world keeps turning, and you'll be a lot happier for it. Last but not least, let's talk about television. It's a staple in most households, a source of entertainment, news, and sometimes even education. But have you ever stopped to think about how much time you actually spend in front of the TV? Now, I love a good movie or TV show just as much as the next person. There's something comforting about curling up on the couch and getting lost in a story. It's a way to unwind and escape from the stresses of daily life. But I realized I was letting television become a time waster. It was no longer just a way to relax. It was becoming a habit, a default activity that consumed hours of my time without me even noticing. I'd come home from work, exhausted, and just collapse on the couch in front of the TV. It was like a ritual. The remote was always within arm's reach, and before I knew it, I was deep into another episode of a show I wasn't even that interested in. Hours would disappear as I mindlessly flipped through channels searching for something to watch. It was like I was on autopilot, not really engaging with what was on the screen, just letting the images wash over me. Watching shows that didn't inspire me, educate me, or even bring me joy. It was just background noise, filling the silence but not adding any real value to my life. It was like my brain was turning to mush. I could feel my creativity and energy draining away with each passing hour. I wasn't engaging with the world around me. I was just a passive observer. I remember one weekend I spent practically the entire time binge-watching a show I didn't even really like. I kept telling myself just one more episode, but it was never just one more. By the end of the weekend, I had finished the entire series, and I felt empty. By Sunday night, I felt sluggish, uninspired, and frankly, a little bit ashamed of myself. I had wasted an entire weekend on something that didn't even make me happy. It was a wake-up call. That's when I decided to be more mindful of my TV consumption. I realized that I needed to take control of how I was spending my time. It wasn't about giving up TV entirely, but about making more intentional choices. I started choosing shows and movies that I actually wanted to watch, things that I was genuinely interested in. I made a conscious effort to select content that would enrich my life in some way, whether it was through laughter, learning, or inspiration. Things that I knew would bring me joy or teach me something new. I found that when I was more selective, I enjoyed my TV time much more. It became a treat, something to look forward to, rather than a mindless habit. And instead of spending my evenings glued to the screen, I started exploring new hobbies. I picked up activities that I had always wanted to try, but never seemed to have the time for. I started painting, playing a musical instrument, and even took up gardening. These activities brought a new sense of fulfillment and creativity into my life. Spending more time with loved ones became a priority. I realized that the moments spent with family and friends were far more valuable than any TV show. We started having game nights, cooking together, and just enjoying each other's company, and just enjoying life outside of my living room. I began to appreciate the simple pleasures of life, like taking a walk in the park, reading a good book, or simply sitting in silence and reflecting. Turning off the tube truly turned on my life. Your 50s can be your best years yet, as long as you focus on what truly matters. Take it from me. Once I stopped letting social media, email, and television control my life, I finally had the time and energy to pursue my passions, deepen my relationships, and create a life I truly love. I challenge you to take a hard look at your daily routine and identify the time-wasting habits that might be holding you back. Believe me, you have more power than you think to create a life you love. Share your own time-wasting habits in the comments below. Let's inspire each other. And don't forget to check out my other videos for more tips on personal growth and productivity. subscribe and share this video with your friends. Let's spread the word that it's never too late to reclaim your time and live your best life.